Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Batman Telltale series. Let's hop in. Um, so yeah, I've been having a real hard time just maintaining momentum covering this game. We barely have gotten anywhere, barely even gotten past the late opening. There's accusations against the Wayne family and...
What the hell's going on? Wait, does this have to do with what the reporters were talking about this morning? That press conference turned into a bloodbath.
Yeah,
Harvey
someone's coming after me.
Let's avoid making another scene, shall we? The press is already up my ass as it is.
So is this going to turn out that Harvey Dent is
and the
maybe...
cops raid my house, taking everything related to Wayne Enterprises.
Maybe
Computers,
bad
hard
guy
drives,
after
files.
all.
Son of a bitch.
This would be funny
I didn't know about this.
if it turns out that Harvey Dent earns his phase,
God damn it.
his Two-Face.
He has no right to issue search warrants without my okay.
Okay, I believe you, Harvey.
This is weird because that's kind of not true. District Attorney does not really have anything to do with authorizing search warrants.
Why would
It is the police department that would go to in front of a judge for a search warrant.
I mean, what could he possibly hope to accomplish other than a few cheap headlines?
We have no idea who this is. Let's just say Son. Because we could say it's Falcone, we could say it's Mayor Hill, we could say it's either one. We really don't know. It could easily be just Oswald Cobblepot, and he's not even on our radar yet.
Hill would be able to spin it as a conflict of interest. And that wouldn't be good for either of us. It would jeopardize the entire campaign.
Then I'll go it alone. I've got plenty of resources to fight this.
We're in a bind here, Bruce. I'll do whatever I can to help.
There you are.
I guess we could have told him to keep his distance.
Sorry, I got a habit of being late.
No,
Who's this girl with the bruise on her face? Oh, is that Catwoman?
You didn't tell me you were bringing a friend to dinner.
Oh.
This is Selina.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Just election nonsense. I think we'd both welcome a change of topic.
I think we've met before.
You do look familiar.
Everyone knows who Bruce Wayne is.
So this is a weird split.
Kyle.
This is a weird split. I've never known...
It's a strong grip you've got there.
I've never known Catwoman.
Don't worry.
I don't know, like, all the Batman stories.
Oh, right. Sorry.
In fact, I probably don't know a lot of them, but I
introducing her to people.
Would think they would have done this before.
There's the election. I guess I can drive one of those double-decker tour buses around town.
I'd take that ride.
So, Miss Kyle, what brings you to Gotham?
Business.
Well, let's just hope she stays after what happened last night.
I was mugged. I'm just angry I let that masked freak get away with all my stuff.
I still can't believe I let you walk home alone. I should have called you a car.
So she could very well be stealing information for...
Took wasn't too valuable.
Actually, it was.
It's probably long gone by now. Whatever that idiot took.
I hope not. These were important materials.
Ooh, sensitive?
Very. I don't know how I'm going to explain this to my client. When things like this happen in my line of work, people tend to overreact.
We should just be thankful you got away with a black eye.
Maybe it's time to find a new job.
I don't need career advice.
See, and that's an example where I thought it would be a different response than what actually was said here.
Go easy on Bruce. It's not his fault he was born rich and good-looking.
At least I'm not.
Well, I guess we've gotten to a point here.
That press conference? Oof.
Like, where things have now gone in a different direction than what I expected, so
I'll handle it.
Maybe this is...
Someone at my office has to know what's going on.
Maybe this is going to be particularly interesting instead of just telling the exact same story over and over again, which is what you normally get in a Batman story. See, I think Batman would just give the data back to her in this investigation. But then Batman has no idea who she is, so this is something that he would do
Nice
like
to meet the
later.
real you.
Likewise.
And see, you have this Bruce
This
Wayne that
explains
is
a lot, actually.
swinging back
How you
and
can
forth
afford the
between being
fancy
kind of
armor,
a
the toys.
jerk,
Wouldn't Harvey be surprised?
like Bruce Wayne being kind
Not
of
to mention
nicer than
everyone
Batman.
in this cafe.
What do you want with Harvey?
Don't worry about your friend. My interest in him is personal. Don't worry. I'm not gonna expose you. Yet. I'm curious about something, though. I do what I do for money, but you're Bruce Wayne. What's your excuse? I have to. But you? Why take the risk?
Someone has to be the good guy.
I suppose you think that makes me a bad girl.
Well, aren't you?
I mean, he
You have
punched
something
her.
that belongs to me. I want it back. This is awkward for me. I'm used to robbing people, not the one being robbed.
Who hired you to break into the mayor's office?
My clients prefer to remain confidential. They don't know who I am. I don't know who they are.
But you know who I am.
These people I'm working for, they don't screw around. If I fail to deliver that drive, it's gonna cost a lot more than money.
Well, looks like you've made your bed.
No, we've made this bed, and I'm not gonna lie in it alone. You owe me. If they don't get what they want, there will be consequences. I don't like consequences.
So I'm gonna try and help her. I've tried to be nicer to her.
My help? You got it. What can I do?
You can give me back the drive.
Not possible.
Listen, I don't have a lot of time. My employer is expecting me to drop it off.
Where?
Just give it back.
This is another
Address
example
now.
No.
of
give me
Batman
the drive.
easily being able to just put a bat tracker on the drive and hand it over.
Please, give me the address.
Oh, he says please when he wants to. Okay, Bruce. Seeing as I'm screwed either way. My contact. He'll be expecting a cat, not a bat.
When are you supposed to meet him?
15 minutes ago. Better hurry.
Everything okay here?
You tell me.
I have my people working on it. We're gonna straighten everything out.
I feel better already. Sorry, but I've got to run.
So soon? Aren't you gonna stay for a drink?
Yeah, Bruce. Stay for a drink?
I'd love to, but I've got another appointment and I really don't want to be late for it.
Oh, all right then. Don't forget to change into your suit.
So, what this story tells, I suppose, is a Bruce Wayne with more personal connections in the present tense versus
Alfred,
like
I'm at the warehouse. No sign of
almost every Batman story where
It's
Harvey
quiet.
Dent is said to have been a friend of Bruce Wayne in the past, but you never really see a lot of that. In reality, almost every Batman story has him being almost completely isolated from humans. I guess I am moving the left stick forward to open the doors. And when we're getting back to an action sequence.
This wasn't a handoff. It was a massacre.
How many?
I'd have to count the pieces.
Oh, good lord. Who could have done such a thing?
That's what I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, if this was an
Besides
action
Warehouse
game,
133.
definitely I would have preferred to always just play as Batman. It's kind of ridiculous to even begin to think about wanting to play as Bruce Wayne. being a Telltale game, you almost wish that you didn't ever play as Batman, but then that would kind of suck too. So you have this weird kind of like split focus.
It's a volatile chemical. Potential psychoactive nerve agent. Vile stuff.
Be very, very careful with that. Who knows what effects it may have.
Have the computer catalog the compound for further analysis.
As you
And
wish.
I imagine they can't like cram in a whole bunch of enemies, so
Nothing left to bury.
I suspect there's just going to be tagged items with this can be linked to related to theorize a connection. Oh. Well, wow, we have an actual gameplay mechanic in a Telltale game? That is crazy. So link that with that.
Whatever exploded did so with enough force to obliterate the person standing next to it. But the chemicals themselves were inert, non-explosive.
Well, it appears to have made a pretty big boom.
I'll see what I can piece back together.
Yeah, I'm assuming this might just be like a Joker box or something. And this may be the introduction of the Joker. Now we can move the camera around a little bit more, but it doesn't seem like that really matters.
I've seen these outfits before. Same mercs that broke into City Hall.
Yeah, and I don't recognize those mercenary outfits enough for that to really be anything. Looks like we can look around some more now and walk around some more. It seems like you look at one thing and then all of a sudden the area opens up more. But what kind of sucks about this is that you would have had to have put a lot more effort into these sequences and probably had to have a lot more of those kinds of sequences to compare to the times you saw that in Arkham Asylum. And arguably you don't even see a lot of that in Arkham City. But
it's a cop.
I feel like even Arkham City probably starts from a better premise of having an actual like game first and foremost, instead of having a collection of sequences, which is all Telltale games ever tend to really be, is just a collection of sequences.
Blood, broken nails, bits of human flesh. This man's been badly burned. The damage seems to originate from inside his skull. What did this?
Forward and A to stab him with a screwdriver, apparently. See, and that definitely feels like a nod to the Telltale series.
Sensors
There.
say it's an incendiary round.
For gore.
Phosphorus residue. This could have superheated the contents of the canister.
Causing the aforementioned boom.
I kind of feel like this is probably going to be something like Deadshot. That would make some sense. It's interesting now when you hover over things, you have these like clues. This is something that really should have been in like the second Telltale game after Walking Dead. Not something that is at nearly the last Telltale game made by the original Telltale company.
Face slashed, throat torn open.
So, not natural causes then.
Here you have Alfred making snide comments, and I don't think that helps much either. So, let's link the bloody hand with the ripped up face. This feels like fear toxin.
The cop shredded this merc to pieces, barehanded.
God, what would cause someone to do that?
The nerve agent could make them psychotic.
So it could be Joker toxin, or it could be Scarecrow fear toxin.
Falcone's calling card.
Could
He's been
be
busy as of late.
Send the drones hunting. I want to know his every move.
Good thinking.
that's an
sir.
interesting thought. Batman having drones flying around, looking at people, spying on people. Which, I mean, that is the beginning of the whole, like, brother eye concept that they did in a previous iteration of Batman, in which he created a satellite that just was going to spy on the whole world and
The canister exploded, sending
And
shrapnel right through the container.
try and stop all
For
crime
once, I'm glad you
completely.
arrived after the heist. Your armor wouldn't have protected you against that.
Which is kind of like a exact example, or Brother Eye is a great example of how Batman really is an authoritarian, and while he may feel like he's doing his actions for justice, he's not really implementing justice. He's first of all punishing people by attacking, beating them up, often not even leaving them like tied up for the police. He uses excessive force. He
Looks like
is
a bullet stuck
judge
in his-
and jury,
all
if
would
not
have caused that
executioner.
explosion.
He doesn't
Doesn't appear normal.
typically kill
The point
people,
of
but
entry is melted.
there have been plenty of times in the comics when he has let somebody die by refusing to render aid. Let's go ahead and link this.
The scrap of metal is from the exploded canister. But I need to know what caused the explosion.
And so apparently maybe I'm not supposed to make that link, as I'm perhaps supposed to break this link and this link.
Someone drove off after the explosion.
I guess if you get a glowing thing, that's right. And also if you have a correct connection, then you can't break it. We still are barely having a video game element happen here, but
Find a connection.
this is way more than you see in most sequences of a Telltale game.
The bullet that killed the cop is the same type that blew up the canister.
Well, I'm sure they didn't find that at a local gun store.
It appears military.
Have you put it together?
Yes.
And then it just jumps to an end cutscene when you do all three matches.
Falcone leaving his rose here. This is a message. Dead cops, stolen chemicals. He's making a big move.
It's kind of hard to follow this story because you've got like 3 or
One of the
4
snipers hit a
different
canister with an incendiary bullet, causing it to
stories
superheat and
going
explode.
in parallel
This
at
may
the
have been a
moment.
distraction or
And it
a
may
way of
take
destroying
5
the evidence.
episodes until everything
Cops moved
merges
in to stop
together.
the theft. Falcone's men gunned him down. Then things turned grim. Possibly due to the psychoactive nerve agent. A cop ripped up a merc's face with his bare hands. And was put down. Same sniper, same type of bullet.
And I
Looks like
assume if
Falcone's
Catwoman
man
was
got
here,
away
she would have been
and escaped.
potentially killed also.
Have you located the shooter?
No, but based on two impact trajectories, the canister and the dead cop, the shooter could only have a clear shot from there, or there. And would have
Assuming this
contaminated
isn't-
himself with the phosphorus residue.
Assuming
Program
he
the
isn't
scanners
like
to pick up that
Deadshot and can bounce bullets.
Right away, sir.
Oh, there's some weird shadowing happening under his neck. Okay. So we can grapple to the shelf. We can grapple here. Or we can seemingly take the stairs to grapple over there. Guess you start here. I suspect what's going to happen is none of these are by default the right answer. And you're supposed to do all three of them. But I think this is probably the wrong answer, so let's start with that. We have Bat Tech, press A, quick time event.
Not a bad angle. No trace of phosphorus, though.
Yeah, I would... There's just like no way you can really have justice with vigilantism. It's very difficult to even have justice when you have trained, properly authorized police forces. But when you have somebody that any time has not been vetted, you don't know his identity, and could just, frankly, doesn't even have a partner that might stop him if he got emotional and started doing something really illegal or really brutal, and that's constantly what you see in Batman stories, is Batman is always doing these brutal activities, and the argument is always that Batman's brutality is what pushes a lot of people to even be in that mental state to become a supervillain, whereas in the real world we don't really have supervillains. If we do have supervillains, they tend to be like rich people. Like and even then they tend not to be that bad. We have presidents, frankly, like horrific dictators, and Hitler is the default example. And even in Hitler's case, it's not like one supervillain that's terrorizing a whole group and then they're the real problem and nobody else is the problem. Hitler in the Nazi Party managed to get a lot of support, arguably through a lot of trickery and force and manipulation, but by the heyday of Nazi Germany, there was a lot of soldiers in that army, and if there was a vigilante Batman type character running around trying to kill Hitler in the height of Nazi Germany, and if he had even succeeded at killing Hitler, it wouldn't have really stopped like World War II. In fact, the United States had several opportunities in which they could have killed Hitler, and I think they mostly chose not to because they found him to be actually less effective than his replacement may have been. And see, you have a chain.
Both targets could have been shot from here, but no phosphorus trace.
You have a chain of evidence problem with something like this, where Batman is using his bat gadgets, which are interesting to kids, I'm sure, but any evidence he finds is going to be inadmissible. And that's the only thing that really makes the idea of all the supervillains that do get caught getting thrown into Arkham Asylum instead of being thrown into Blackgate Prison, where they more often than not belonged, was that there was always this contrivance that's just not true, that because a police officer, a duly entitled police officer, didn't actually arrest the Joker could only be put in an asylum. Although that example is actually pretty bad because Joker obviously is crazy by most people's standards and would still deserve to be in an asylum. Whereas Catwoman, not so much. Although you could always make the argument that anybody dressing up as a supervillain, including even the vigilante Batman, are probably crazy. And Batman is clearly crazy. There's no way around that. His behavior is not realistic, normal, or logical in any way. As Bruce Wayne, he could fund a whole bunch of community building projects, and arguably in some comic books they say he does do that, but he's definitely not really focused on that. Like, you don't end up with a Batmobile and a Batcopter and a Batsuit if you're not just wasting huge amounts of resources, money, to make yourself this vigilante superhero that is not really needed, when he could have been running for mayor himself, frankly, and fighting corruption that way. Bruce Wayne could have easily become the mayor of Gotham, a long-running mayor, like get rid of the corruption amongst the government agencies. He could have easily built hospitals, mental treatment facilities, created more jobs in general, employing more people, making Gotham a fairly successful town where it would be ridiculous for any low-level thug to ever want to become a low-level thug. In fact, worst came to worst, if you just had a certain percentage of the citizens who wanted to do crime, you could create your own gang, effectively, as a Matches Malone, which is one of the bad guys that Bruce Wayne pretends to be sometimes. He, as Matches Malone, could have created a gang, hired a bunch of thugs, have them show up at Wayne Enterprise facilities that have been intentionally cleared out with as far as security or anything, and just let people pretend like they're criminals, to get it out of their system. Just effectively have crisis actors, have stuntmen being the security guys, give them guns that have blanks in it. You could easily cure that itch for anybody who just has the need to be a criminal, which I will say there are people out there, and it's kind of a natural thing, that are looking for the thrill. So if you told me tomorrow I could pay to have an escape room type experience where I robbed a bank, I'd be very interested in that. I don't want to really break a law, and sure, money would be nice, but you could compete against the likes of the Joker very easily by having just a standard fight. You could compete against Falcone by being like the nicest guy that doesn't kill people just the second they make mistakes.
Trace stops here.
Then he should be nearby.
Found him.
That's not to say that Bruce Wayne could fix all the crime or all the ills of society, even in Gotham. Interesting, I missed a couple of different things there.
My turn.
Instead,
Don't add your corpse to this graveyard. Falcone, why did he do this?
I ain't telling you nothing.
Instead, you have Batman who wants to.
You can't make me talk.
You didn't do this alone. Where are the others?
Long gone. You won't find them.
Yeah, you see in these throws, in these punches, that this isn't just a genius who wants to instill terror as some kind of enhanced interrogation torture technique. Bruce Wayne and Batman is a violent person.
It's true what they said about you. You're a friggin' animal. give me a reason to stop.
So even when I'm trying to be a good guy here, which arguably I think maybe I am a nicer guy than Batman as a character.
Or I start swinging.
And see, the problem with making a threat
Scared of you, man.
is you've got to kind of implement it. So I can smash his face in, I can break his ribs, or I can intimidate.
Tell me. That Catwoman was supposed to hand over a drive, had the container number we needed, but she flaked. So we had to find it ourselves. Container by container. Someone must have heard us, called the cops. We were told no witnesses.
Why risk open war with the GCPD?
Some kind of chemicals. Falcone wanted them.
What are the chemicals for?
We were paid to steal them, not ask questions.
So these are mercenaries working for Falcone. Good thing we figured that out. What?
Oh, please, no. Oh, God, no.
This is stupid. Like, he's talking. Why are we gonna...
No! Stop! You can't do that!
Why would you break an arm? Like, I kind of hate Batman. I'm coming to realize this. I like him a lot more when you kind of can gloss over all of this, but when you're in a Telltale story, when it's zoomed in on the camera, like, I kind of hate him as a character. He's just the... He's not the cool Superman, where Superman is a dweeb and a goody two-shoes. Batman is a absolute criminal and jerk. Just the opposite of what a superhero should be. And it really sucks that DC puts so much attention on him, where it's like half the DC books sometimes feel like they're Batman stories. Like, I'm gonna hit the B button and just... Like, you literally have no choice.
I start here and keep breaking until
Yeah, and
you answer.
they script this.
Some kind of explosive. A weapon. I don't know. Falcone said he'd use them soon.
Used where?
That's all I know.
And see, they don't even ask that second time.
I told you everything I know. You're an animal. I was just here for a pickup. I swear. You're Batman. You're supposed to be a...
Jesus Christ.
These are cops. Get an ambulance in here.
Think I need to call the coroner instead. It's Montoya.
Let's talk to Gordon.
Hey! Freeze! Don't move!
Stand down, Montoya.
No. Thank God. He was about to kill me.
You want to tell me what the hell this is all about?
I told you he was about to kill me. What are you waiting for? Arrest him.
I'm doing your job.
Yeah, that's the problem. We'll take it from here.
Falcone stole a shipment of chemicals. Appears to be a weaponized nerve agent. Causes people to go berserk, turn violent. We need to act before he releases it.
I got a task force on it.
You already have one.
You're taking this too far, Bruce.
And now that's a slow transition. Because that was Alfred just talking in your ear, I guess.
You assume the persona of a bat, but you're not an animal. You beat that man half to death.
And see, they wrote it so it had to be that way, even though I, as the character, as a player, didn't want to be anywhere close to that.
And neither did I.
I'm just gonna listen to him, because he's right.
I see. I suppose you did whatever you thought was necessary. Especially now, during this preposterous attack on your family. You must show the world the true nature of a Wayne.
Giving everything to the city and then being murdered for it?
My thoughts exactly. Every time you leave this cave. You're a good man, Bruce. Good. Just like your parents. Don't lose that.
In a lot of ways,
I
Alfred
don't mean to
kind
be
of
a doddering
failed
old
to
fool on
raise
the
him
subject, but
well.
as a friend, the burden of advice falls on me.
And Alfred is constantly failing Bruce Wayne because really what he should do is turn Bruce
Bury
Wayne
the
in.
person, Bruce.
And
Never bury the memory.
he should get on in front of cameras and tell him Bruce
Sometimes
Wayne
I
is
wish I
Batman.
could.
And kill Batman as a persona to save Bruce
That
Wayne as a
night,
person.
That alleyway. It made me who I am. I can't get it out of my head.
That is your gift and your curse. Being Batman can allow you to turn back the tide of treachery that's reached this city's shores, or drown you in its sorrow. When you doubt your fate, remember why you started all this.
And see,
Remember
I
that boy in the
personally feel like
I won't forget.
Bruce Wayne is not just Batman because his parents were killed. While that certainly would
alley. Well, back into
affect
the fray again.
how he was, how he turned out. I feel like at a certain level, Bruce Wayne had a predisposition of fantastical thinking, and frankly, if the writers were better for Batman, they would explain this better. I feel like Bruce Wayne, young Bruce Wayne, the boy Bruce Wayne, was raised by a very rich family and given everything he wants, and he was living a fantasy childhood, which normally would have just led to him having kind of a Peter Pan syndrome and never growing up and never being mature. But because his parents were killed, then that lets him look upon the past and see it as this completely out of reality, idealized, perfect childhood. And that expands to this fantastical thinking that Gotham and the world and all of reality was perfect when there was no crime, or when he was young and he perceived that there was no crime, and that crime is the only problem and that the world has, and that he can somehow magically fix the world and fix his reality by getting rid of all crime. And I imagine Bruce Wayne was a real character, and they really did some deep therapy on him as a character. They realized that he was well on his way to being crazy even when his parents hadn't died. That pushed him over the edge, because even his reactions after his parents died are not normal. Like, you don't have your parents murdered. Plenty of people have had their parents die or murdered, even in violent crimes, and they don't dedicate the rest of their life to being a superhero. It just doesn't happen. Like, and to the point where that you've completely abandoned logic. That, like, that's the main thing that just screams about Bruce Wayne as a character in particular, is that he is 100% abandoned logic, having insane amounts of resources to do what is the most comic booky, cartoonish actions ever. Arguably, what should have happened is he should have been in major therapy and very possibly not raised by such an old man, who I think Alfred may be a little crazy too, because he definitely encouraged this fantastical thinking. And it creates this reality in Gotham and DC universe where everybody is just kind of crazy and has fantastical thinking. But yeah, it would be interesting to see a story of what a normal Bruce Wayne would have been. Let's see. I guess we'll look at the Codex. And we may very well have to come back to the Codex. Seems like what they're trying to do here is have us get expansions on our relationships via the Codex. I suspect we may never actually see Hamilton Hill as a character interact with him. And then they kind of introduced also Cobblepot and then have done nothing with him. I wonder if we don't even see him for the rest of this episode. But we are also very much struggling to even get through a single episode. I also wonder if there was a scenario where I wouldn't have punched her in the face and bruised her face. If that was the case, then I don't know how you would have really recognized her in the past, in the previous scene. It does seem like Falcone is going to play a bit more of a role, or at least be a bit of a red herring. But the fact that you have 2 rows of people and then 1 row of locations, to me, seems to imply that we're probably only going to get maybe 1 more person and maybe 2 more places for this entire episode. I wouldn't be surprised if the Codex expands in the next episode. Alright, and so we looked at that. Let's look at the feed. You can definitely tell some of this it makes sense for a more separate group of programmers. You could have 1 intern working on the Codex, or 1 group of interns working on the Codex, or 1 low-level programmers working on the index, while you could have another group working on the news feed. And that would be a way of giving the writers some more work, particularly for the Codex and the news feed. And then you would have 1 group of programmers doing all the back computer sections, and 1 group of programmers doing a lot of the conversation dialogue sections, and 1 group of programmers doing some of the other environments. You could easily break up all the work and then cut and paste it together later, which that is how you typically make a game. But for a Telltale story, which is going to be incredibly linear compared to pretty much anything else other than what is called a kinetic visual novel, where there is literally no branching paths, and you really don't need to make a game that way, and it would work a little bit better if you didn't make the game that way.
Well, looks like that egg finally cracked. And
like,
inside,
seemingly,
Hill was hiding
the only thing in here
more than I could have
is going to be
This is a
information
complete
about
manifest
the
of Carmine Falcone's criminal organization.
canister.
What in the world was Hill doing with all this? Illegal arms stealing, drug running, mob hits, money laundering. Falcone's been involved in everything. And it goes back years.
Hill could have been building a case against Falcone
To win the election.
The mayor,
would
though,
bolster his campaign if he eliminated Gotham's
making a
most
case
notorious
also
crime
doesn't
family.
make sense. Like, he's the mayor now. He wouldn't be investigating anybody. That's not what a
This is
mayor
it.
does.
With
It'd
this
make more
proof, we
sense
can
if Hill-
finally knock out Falcone's organization.
Where would we possibly begin to dismantle it?
This is a police matter.
There's only 1 cop we can trust to handle this evidence correctly.
Lieutenant Gordon. He could mobilize the entire police force against Falcone.
What about that reporter from the Gazette?
Vicky.
Yes, Miss Vale. She could release this evidence through proper channels. I suppose it comes down to who you want to help most. Or who you think could do the most good.
Interesting. So then we have to pick, I guess. We can give the data to the police, or we can give the data to Vicky Vale. Well, obviously you want to help Commissioner Gordon, or future Commissioner Gordon, more than Vicky Vale. Yeah, because this will just increase her reporting skills and also put her in the sights of getting killed by Falcone. That's not safe. Whereas I imagine they're already trying to kill Gordon. Yeah, give it to the proper authorities. The only argument you could make here, and it's a very weak argument, and I guess this is probably our big choice for this episode, and we may finally be at the end of the first episode, which honestly, I'm having such a problem just continuing to play this. I would be kind of happy if these episodes were a little bit shorter, like an hour long, and that the entire series was only 5 hours. Particularly since these Telltale games feel like they want you to play them multiple times, they would have to be a lot shorter. But yeah, the only argument to give it to Vicky Vale is that you believe that Gotham is so corrupt, and it's pretty corrupt, yes, but it's not that corrupt, that even Commissioner Gordon couldn't do anything with the information and can't take down Falcone, or at least severely cripple him, and that your only last recourse is just to expose this. And even at that point, it makes a lot more sense to leak this data on the internet without Vicky Vale getting it individually. Maybe you secretly give a copy to Vicky Vale and several other people, but you don't just single-handedly give it to Vicky Vale, doing kind of like they did with some of the Edward Snowden's type data. But it's a terrible argument to Gotham. It's just not that corrupt. The police department's not that corrupt. So I can't imagine a scenario where anybody would choose anything other Gordon.
Gordon needs this more than anyone.
And this is one of those examples where I suspect they're going to say 90% of everybody chose Gordon.
And Batman,
by any means necessary.
And maybe they're trying to play with our pre-existing knowledge and
spider, Bruce. Eyes everywhere. A dense web of
and tricking us into making the decision that a regular Batman would make, when in this reality it's different. It's also very questionable. Even if this is like the first year Batman has really been doing anything, it's really questionable why he hasn't been trying to take Falcone down yet. Known gangsters are very easy to put in the sights of a vigilante like Batman.
This is a silver bullet, and it's gonna put Falcone down once and for all.
I believe at
I don't
some
even wanna know
point
where you got this.
Commissioner Gordon stopped smoking
Still, I gotta know one
because
thing.
obviously they didn't want to
Why give this
animate.
to me? Don't get me wrong.
They didn't want him smoking in the
Appreciate
comics.
the hell out of this. Everyone on the force will too. We've been looking for this kind of firepower for years.
This isn't about politics. Gotham is safer with Falcone off the streets.
Who's that guy
It's
in the
first step
background?
in a marathon to fix this city. You know, as much as I appreciate you calling me here, I gotta
Maybe
make one thing
nobody.
crystal. I can't be bought. So you should know this isn't going to change a thing about the investigation of your family.
It's kind of funny he handed it to
Wayne's
him
always
as Bruce
supported the
Wayne.
Gotham police. So I like to believe there's no cloaks or daggers hidden in your closet. Until we find nothing, though, I gotta play bad cop.
There are no strings attached. I just want Falcone gone.
You and me both. I'm tired of staring at his mugshot.
It's almost like the only reason why he's smoking in this scenario is because the Wolf Among Us Telltale game had smoking already animated
I gotta go.
and 3D
Came
modeled.
straight from a crime scene. Haven't been home yet. Sometimes I think this whole city's a crime scene. We're just walking through it.
What you're holding will make walking it much safer.
See,
Thanks,
this
Bruce.
is really weird. They're trying to have like background characters,
Hey,
but they
Stick
can't
to Jim.
really animate them. So in the far background, you're seeing like 2 or 3 people walking around. for no reason, and they frankly are distractions compared to
It's done.
The Walking Dead, where there would be only zombies in the background, if ever, any background characters.
Skyline Club. Although you're not dressed for that kind of party.
Well, I can always change in the car.
So we just have an A button to transfer on. That's a cool idea to have a red car turn into a Batmobile, but real dangerous to do that in the back alley. The idea of just like closed circuit television probably would destroy the idea of Bruce Wayne ever finding a way to transform or change out of his Bruce Wayne attire into a Batman attire. Yeah. So this seems like it's still gonna go. It may go another 10 minutes or it may go another hour. It may be a case that the specific episodes just don't really get broken up like they do in The Walking Dead. I suspect that's not the case. Episodic releases were always a bad idea. It's important to point that out. It is the worst combination of both pre-ordering 4 episodes when you buy the game brand new and a season pass, and buying 4 pieces of DLC because you're not getting a complete game. The good news is it's probably fairly difficult to not get at least an entire season, if not the entirety of a Telltale game. But yeah, that was always a bad idea, and it did not improve the storytelling narrative much beyond The Walking Dead's first season, where it kind of helped there, but not really. Anything it helped, it definitely lost momentum, because when I originally played The Walking Dead Season 1, I was playing it as it was released, so it was several weeks, if not months, in between Episode 1 and Episode 2. Whereas if you were going to have a TV equivalent to episodes, particularly in a Batman game, it would be something closer to a Batman 66, where you would have 30 minutes of content, a single standalone Batman story in which a bad guy of the week shows up and you fight them. And that idea might work, particularly in some kind of RPG or MMO style, where you could just have a new enemy of the week. But nobody has really tried to make a game that was TV episodic. And what they mean by episodic is just, we're going to sell you a fifth of a game and then make you wait for the rest of it. And yeah, I don't know if you would have kept Telltale in business had they not been episodic, because they had other problems. It all mostly centers around cheapness, though. They are pre-selling the game because they don't have funding, and they're going with an episodic DLC release because they don't have funding. They are paying way too much for licenses, particularly Batman probably cost a lot, and because they are paying too much for licenses, the one place they aren't being cheap, they can't afford to improve on their engine, and they can't really experiment or do anything different. So when you're at what is probably the 10th Telltale game, which I would say the Batman Telltale series probably was the 10th Telltale style game that they released, they are still using the same engine for the most part and doing the same tricks. And it just feels old hat at this point. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.